When the lawyer opened the envelope, no one in the room moved. 3 of the Caldwell children believed they already knew what their father's will would say. They had spent their entire lives preparing for that moment. But Henry Caldwell had one habit none of them ever fully understood. He never told people what he was planning. He simply watched them long enough to decide. And when he died, he left behind something none of them expected: a second will. The Caldwell estate stood quietly on a hill outside the city. The house was old, built of stone and dark wood, surrounded by tall oak trees that had watched over the family for generations. Inside the library, the 3 siblings gathered around a large wooden table. Books lined the walls from floor to ceiling. A fire burned softly in the fireplace. Above it hung a large portrait of Henry Caldwell. Even in the painting, his eyes seemed to be watching the room. David Caldwell stood near the window. He was the eldest, successful, controlled, a man who had built a powerful investment firm and believed the family company would soon belong under his leadership. Across the room sat Michael Caldwell. Michael had never chased attention. He worked quietly inside the family business and spent the last years of their father's life close to the estate. Near the doorway stood Anna Caldwell. She had left the family company years ago after a quiet disagreement with their father that no one in the family ever discussed again. The door opened. Samuel Reed walked in carrying a leather folder. He had been the Caldwell family lawyer for nearly 30 years. Without speaking, he sat at the table and placed the folder in front of him. "Thank you for coming," he said calmly. "Your father left clear instructions regarding the distribution of his estate." David leaned back in his chair. He wasn't worried. Their father believed in strength and leadership. David had built both. Samuel opened the folder and began reading. The house would remain within the Caldwell Estate Trust. The land surrounding the property would remain protected. Investment holdings would stay within the family structure. The language was precise and careful, exactly what David expected. When Samuel finished reading, he closed the folder. The room stayed quiet. David nodded once. "Well," he said, "that seems straightforward." Samuel didn't respond. Instead, he reached back into the leather folder and removed a second envelope. It was older, the paper slightly darker, sealed with red wax. He placed it gently on the table. Anna noticed first. "That wasn't mentioned before," she said. Samuel looked at her. "No," he replied. "It wasn't." David frowned. "What is it?" Samuel rested his hands on the table. "This is another document your father instructed me to open only after his death." Michael looked up. "A second will?" Samuel nodded. "Yes." The room went silent. David leaned forward. "That doesn't make sense," he said. "You just finished reading the will." Samuel spoke carefully. "That was the official document." He tapped the sealed envelope. "This one contains additional instructions your father believed were more important." Anna studied the envelope. "What kind of instructions?" Samuel looked briefly at the portrait above the fireplace. "Your father had a habit," he said. "He watched people carefully." The siblings said nothing. "For the last 20 years, Samuel continued, Henry Caldwell believed inheritance should not depend only on success or position. He rested his hand on the envelope. He believed it should depend on character. David shook his head slightly. "This sounds unnecessary." Samuel continued as if he hadn't spoken. "Over the last 2 decades, your father quietly created situations and decisions that allowed him to observe each of you." Michael frowned. "Observe us how?" Samuel met his eyes. They were tests. The words settled into the room. Anna leaned forward. You're saying he tested us? Samuel nodded. Yes, for 20 years. David stood slowly. That's absurd. Samuel broke the wax seal on the envelope. The sound was soft but sharp in the quiet room. He removed a single document. The siblings watched him carefully. Samuel looked down at the paper. Then he looked back up at them. This document contains the results of those tests. David crossed his arms. And what exactly does that decide? Samuel answered calmly. It decides who inherits everything. No one spoke. The fire crackled quietly in the fireplace. Samuel held the paper in front of him. And according to Henry Caldwell, he paused. Only one of you passed. David leaned forward. This has to be a mistake, he said. Samuel did not respond to the challenge. Instead, he lowered his eyes to the document again. Your father believed inheritance should not depend on birth order, he said calmly. He believed it should depend on character. David shook his head. You're telling us he tested us like children? Samuel looked up. No, he said. He tested you like successors. The room fell quiet again. For the last 20 years, Samuel continued, Henry Caldwell designed situations that allowed him to observe each of you. Business decisions, personal choices, moments where character becomes visible. Michael frowned slightly. You mean he set traps? Samuel shook his head. No. Tests. Anna leaned forward. What kind of tests? Samuel turned the page slowly. The first category was business ethics. David crossed his arms. That's simple. We ran a company. Samuel continued reading. 10 years ago, a supplier contract was offered to the company at a very favorable rate. It would have increased profits significantly. David nodded. I remember that deal. Samuel looked at him. Yes, you approved it immediately. Of course I did. It was profitable. Samuel continued. What you did not know was that the supplier had been secretly violating labor laws. David's confidence faded slightly. The investigation was quiet. Samuel continued. Your father already knew. Anna looked at David. You signed it anyway? David defended himself. No one told me there was a problem. Samuel spoke calmly. That was the test. Silence returned. Samuel turned another page. The second category was kindness. Michael shifted in his chair. Samuel looked at him. 5 years ago, the company faced a minor financial downturn. Your father quietly recommended reducing staff. Michael nodded slowly. I refused. Yes, Samuel said. Instead, you reduced your own division budget and kept the employees. David frowned. That was inefficient. Michael shrugged. It was necessary. Samuel wrote a note in the margin of the document. Your father recorded that decision. Anna looked between her brothers. You're telling us he watched every decision we made? Samuel nodded once. For 20 years. Anna leaned back in her chair. That's not inheritance, she said quietly. That's surveillance. Samuel did not disagree. The third category, he continued, was loyalty. The word hung in the air. Anna stiffened slightly. Samuel turned to another section of the document. 8 years ago, the company faced a legal challenge. Several executives advised restructuring ownership to protect personal assets. David nodded. That was standard strategy. Samuel looked at him. Yes, and you supported it. David didn't see the problem. It protected the board. Samuel continued reading. Your father refused. David's expression hardened. That decision cost us millions. Samuel closed the document for a moment. Yes, he said. but it protected the company's employees. Michael glanced at Anna. Anna's eyes had moved to their father's portrait. The old man seemed to be watching them again. Samuel reopened the document. For 2 decades, Henry Caldwell quietly recorded decisions made by each of you. David leaned forward again. And what exactly did those notes decide? Samuel took a breath. They determined who he believed had the character to inherit everything. The room was silent. David finally spoke. So which one of us passed? Samuel looked down at the final page. The document explains the reasoning first, he said. Anna shook her head. Of course it does. Samuel continued reading. Henry Caldwell believed wealth amplifies character. Michael whispered quietly. That sounds like him. Samuel finished the paragraph. Success alone does not qualify a successor. David tapped the table impatiently. Get to the point. Samuel raised his eyes. The point, he said, is that one of you consistently passed the tests. Michael and Anna exchanged a glance. David stared directly at the lawyer. Who? Samuel did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at each of them. Then he said quietly, there is one more category your father believed mattered more than all the others. David's voice sharpened. What category? Samuel turned the final page. Truth. The word settled heavily into the room. Michael frowned. What does that mean? Samuel closed the document slowly. It means, he said, one of you has been lying to this family for years. No one moved. The fire cracked again in the silence. The word truth still hangs in the air. No one in the library moves. Samuel Reed slowly places the document on the table. You said someone has been lying, David says. His voice is tight now. Who? Samuel looks at him carefully. The document explains the pattern first. David exhales impatiently. Then explain it. Samuel turns the page. Over the years, Henry Caldwell became aware that certain decisions inside the company were being influenced. Quietly, Michael looks up. Influenced how? Samuel reads slowly. Several board recommendations appeared to originate from different executives, but they all followed the same pattern. Anna leans forward. What pattern? Samuel raises his eyes. They always benefited one person. David's jaw tightens. That's how leadership works. Samuel continues reading. 8 years ago, the company nearly sold a profitable division. Michael remembers immediately. That was a terrible deal. David interrupts. It was strategic. Samuel shakes his head slightly. Your father investigated the proposal privately. David's voice sharpens. And? Samuel turns another page. He discovered that the financial analysis used to justify the sale had been altered. The room grows still. Anna looks at David. You changed the numbers? David scoffs. I add just projections. Every executive does. Samuel does not react. Your father knew the projections had been manipulated. Michael slowly turns toward his brother. You tried to force the sale. David stands abruptly. I tried to grow the company. Samuel continues calmly. Your father stopped the deal. David stares at the lawyer. That decision cost us millions. Samuel nods once. Yes. Then he adds quietly, but it prevented control of the company from shifting entirely into your hands. Anna looks from Samuel to David. You were trying to take over the company. David doesn't answer. Samuel turns the document toward the siblings. Henry Caldwell recorded every instance where financial recommendations favored one individual over the long-term stability of the company. David's voice is cold now. He built this company to grow. Samuel meets his eyes. He built it to last. Michael watches the two men carefully. For the first time, he sees something he had never considered before. Their father had been watching David for years. David sits back down slowly. "So that's it?" he asks. "He punished ambition?" Samuel shakes his head. "No. He tested honesty." David looks toward the portrait above the fireplace. The old man's painted eyes seem sharper now. Samuel closes the page. "Your father believed leadership requires power." David nods once. "Exactly." Samuel's voice stays calm. "But he also believed power without restraint destroys families." Anna crosses her arms. "So what happens now?" Samuel does not answer that question yet. Instead, he turns to another section of the document. "This brings us to your brother." Michael looks confused. "What about me?" Samuel reads again. "For the last 10 years of his life, Henry Caldwell's health declined steadily." Michael lowers his eyes slightly. Samuel continues. "During that time, one child visited the estate more than the others." Anna looks toward Michael. "You were here all the time." Michael shrugs. "Someone had to be." Samuel turns another page. "Your father kept a detailed record of those visits." David laughs quietly. "So now loyalty is measured by attendance?" Samuel ignores the comment. For years, Michael Caldwell declined promotions that would have moved him overseas. Michael frowns. "That's not a test." Samuel looks at him. "No. It was a choice." The room grows quiet again. Samuel continues reading. Michael Caldwell handled routine business operations while quietly managing his father's medical care and estate responsibilities. Anna's expression softens slightly. "You never told us how bad his health got." Michael shrugs again. "He didn't want sympathy." Samuel closes the document for a moment. "Your father wrote something about that." He reads from a short paragraph. "Ambition builds companies. Duty sustains them." David looks irritated. "So what?" Samuel lifts his eyes. "Your father believed loyalty reveals itself in ordinary moments." Michael shifts uncomfortably. "I wasn't doing anything special." Samuel shakes his head. "You were doing something rare." The fire crackles again behind them. Samuel opens the final section of the document. There is still one category remaining. Anna exhales slowly. "Let me guess. Truth again?" Samuel nods. "Yes." David leans forward. "And what truth is that?" Samuel looks down at the last page. Then he looks back up. "Your father believed that before inheritance could be decided." He pauses. One final secret had to be revealed. No one breathes. Samuel lowers his voice. "And that secret concerns someone in this room." The room is silent. Samuel Reed still holds the final page of the document. No one speaks. "And that secret concerns someone in this room," he said. David leans forward first. "What secret?" Samuel doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he folds the page carefully and places it on the table. "This part of the document explains something your father discovered shortly before his health began to decline." Anna watches him closely. "Discovered what?" Samuel opens another section of the file. 10 years ago, he says, someone inside the company began quietly redirecting funds from several small divisions. David laughs under his breath. "If this is another lecture about business decisions." Samuel raises his hand. "These transactions were never reported to the board." David stops talking. Michael sits up slightly. "How much money?" he asks. Samuel turns the page. "Not much at first." Anna frowns. "Then why does it matter?" Samuel looks at her. "Because the pattern continued for years." David's voice sharpens. "You're saying someone was stealing?" Samuel nods once. "Yes." The word lands heavily. Anna looks around the table. Did father find out who? Samuel hesitates. He began to suspect. David shakes his head. This is absurd. Samuel continues calmly. Before he could confirm it, something else happened. Michael's brow tightens. What? Samuel closes the document slowly. Anna disappeared. The room stills. David exhales sharply. That was 10 years ago. Anna's eyes narrow. You think my leaving had something to do with missing money? Samuel meets her gaze. Your father did. Anna stands slowly. That's ridiculous. Samuel doesn't argue. Your father believed someone in this family knew about the missing funds. David looks from Anna to the lawyer. You're accusing her? I'm explaining your father's concern. Anna folds her arms. And what exactly did he think I did? Samuel answers carefully. He believed you discovered something inside the company. Michael turns toward his sister. Is that true? Anna doesn't answer right away. The fire pops softly behind them. Samuel continues. Your father wrote that shortly before you left, you confronted him about certain financial records. David looks confused. What records? Anna finally speaks. Shell accounts. The word makes Samuel look up. Michael's voice drops. You found shell accounts? Anna nods slowly. Small transfers at first, hidden in operational expenses. David shakes his head. Those exist in every large company. Anna looks at him directly. These were different. Samuel leans forward slightly. What did you think they were? Anna answers quietly. A quiet exit. David frowns. For who? Anna doesn't answer. Samuel opens the document again. Your father wrote that you believed someone inside the company was preparing to move large assets offshore. David's voice hardens. And you didn't tell anyone? Anna turns to him. I told father. Michael looks confused. And then you left? Anna nods. He asked me to. The room falls silent again. Samuel studies her. Your father believed leaving protected you. David scoffs. Protected her from what? Anna finally looks at all of them. From whoever was preparing to take the company. Michael looks stunned. Samuel lowers the document slowly. That brings us to the final note your father left about the missing funds. David leans forward. Well? Samuel reads quietly. Henry Caldwell wrote that the truth behind the disappearance of those funds would reveal the one person in this room he could never trust. The fire crackles again. Anna whispers softly, So you still don't know who took it? Samuel lifts his eyes. Oh, he knew. David's voice tightens. Then why didn't he expose them? Samuel folds the paper carefully. Because he wanted to see what that person would do next. The room goes still. Samuel's voice lowers. And according to your father, he pauses. That person is sitting at this table. No one speaks. Samuel reads last words still hang in the air. That person is sitting at this table. The fire crackles softly in the library. The four people around the table sit frozen. David is the first to break the silence. Well? He says. Who was it? Samuel does not answer immediately. Instead, he opens the final pages of the document and studies them carefully. Before your father named anyone, he says slowly, he wrote something else. David exhales impatiently. This story is getting longer every minute. Samuel looks up. Because your father believed the truth required patience. Anna watches him carefully. What did he write? Samuel reads from the page. For 20 years, I tested my children in ways they never recognized. Michael nods slightly. We already know that. Samuel continues reading. But those tests were never about business. The room grows still again. Samuel raises his eyes. They were about character. David leans back. That's the same thing. Samuel shakes his head. No. He turns another page. Your father believed money reveals character. It does not create it. Michael studies the table quietly. Anna glances at the portrait above the fireplace. Samuel continues. Every decision each of you made revealed something. David folds his arms. And what exactly did I reveal? Samuel looks directly at him. Ambition. David nods proudly. Good. Samuel continues calmly. But ambition without restraint becomes control. David's expression tightens. Samuel turns toward Michael. You revealed loyalty. Michael shifts uncomfortably. That wasn't a test. Samuel replies quietly. Your father believed it was. Anna waits. And me? She asks. Samuel reads again. You revealed courage. Anna looks surprised. Samuel continues. Leaving the company when you believed it was compromised required honesty. The three siblings sit quietly. Samuel closes the document slowly. Your father believed success, loyalty, and courage were all important. David leans forward again. So who passed? Samuel meets his eyes. Only one of you passed consistently. David's voice lowers. Then say it. Samuel opens the final envelope inside the folder. This is the second will. The room feels smaller now. Samuel begins reading. Henry Caldwell leaves the Caldwell estate, the company, and all associated holdings to the successor he believes demonstrated the character necessary to lead. Anna whispers, Who? Samuel continues reading the name. Then he stops. David stares at him. What are you waiting for? Samuel looks up slowly. For you to understand something first. David slams his hand lightly on the table. Just read the name. Samuel nods once. He looks down at the document again. Then he speaks. The Caldwell estate and all controlling shares of Caldwell Industries will transfer to. He pauses. Samuel read. The room explodes with confusion. David stands up. You? Samuel raises a hand calmly. Not me personally. Anna frowns. What does that mean? Samuel turns the document toward them. Your father transferred the entire estate into a charitable trust. Michael looks stunned. A trust? Samuel nods. Yes. Caldwell Industries will now be managed by a foundation created in your father's name. David shakes his head. This is absurd. Samuel continues. The foundation will support employee ownership and community development. Anna leans forward. Then none of us inherit the company? Samuel shakes his head. No. Michael finally asks the question everyone is thinking. Then who leads the company? Samuel turns the page again. The trust appoints a single managing director. David's voice sharpens. And who is that? Samuel reads the final line. The managing director of Caldwell Industries will be. He pauses. Michael Caldwell. Michael stares at him. That has to be a mistake. Samuel shakes his head. Your father believed leadership belongs to the person who never tried to take it. David's face hardens. Anna studies her brother quietly. Samuel closes the document. Your father wrote one final sentence. He reads the last line. A fortune reveals character. Then he looks up. It never creates it. No one speaks. The fire burns softly in the library. Henry Caldwell's portrait watches the room. And for the first time since the meeting began, the tests are finally over.